Thank you. It's going to be a fascinating panel, I think, because we're following up on what the three ambassadors and the governor were talking about, and you'll get a perspective from each country. I'm going to provide more of an overview and an American point of view. It is part of our ongoing series at NACS to think about energy issues in North America, the interdependence, the relationships, the sustainability of that. So I'll talk a little bit about NACS itself, give a global perspective with a focus on the United States. Keystone is a great example, I think, to talk about what the partnerships and the evolving relationships look like. But then I do want to end on renewable energy and talk a little bit about greenhouse gases. We partner with universities in Canada and Mexico so that when we have an answer or a solution set, we understand it trinationally. We team with the University of Alberta, for example, to talk about oil sands. We team with Tech Monterey. We look at kind of 4 issues to promote cooperation. And we're here today because we work for the Council of State Governments. We work on a boutique of issues that are unrelated, but together they make up the backbone of how the 3 nations can cooperate on things like energy and trafficking. I do want to cite a co-investigator, Martin Pasqualetti at Arizona State University. Also thanks to a grant from Government of Quebec and DFATE, as well as this USAID grant, and then also I have a grant from the EPA to think about these issues. So we try to think about them as comprehensively as we can and as continentally as we can. Whoops, I think I missed one there. Energy is, as some people have voted, the #1 issue for the future, but the point I would like to make is you can't have energy without water and water without energy, so that's an energy issue. Food, you can't grow without energy. The environment, energy nexus is so tight. So all these issues in a roundabout way become energy issues, and so we can't talk about energy without talking about everything, and kind of vice versa. As you look about where globally the proven reserves are, not the probable or the wishful, but where they're proven, you know that Alberta is we used to call it the Saudi Arabia. Now I'm calling Alberta the Alberta of Canada. In North America itself, the oil patch in Texas is largely drying up. The oil patch in Mexico is very quickly drying up. If they continue on the track they're on, they'll be oil bankrupt in as little as 20 years. Alberta has enough oil for, well, you can tell us, maybe a couple dozen generations or something. Canadians' production is increasing thanks to the oil sands, but then also I think a lot of Canada's investment, true investment in the renewables. U.S. demand will continue to grow, except for occasional recessions that pop up in the way. And so our imports for our seemingly insatiable appetites are stepping up year by year as our production again goes down. Even if we were to open up ANWR, it's only a few days worth of supply for a few years to meet our eventual goal. The point I was making about Mexican oil production is, yes, the United States does depend second on Mexico for importation of oil, but Mexico needs to have investment in its exploration and development to continue to be that #2 partner in energy interdependence. First and second, probably exceeding all the rest of them put together. Alberta being the key, and it's that left-pointing red arrow is the one that we want to remember. If they don't sell it to us, they're going to sell it to the world, and probably meaning China. There's an extensive system of pipelines. We want to add one more for the reliability, the interdependence, and as the governor made the point, for the on-ramps that will enable U.S. oil to get to refineries and offshore if we need to. So I would not ever say it's environment versus jobs. So I think we should recognize that there are significant jobs associated with energy exploration, energy development, energy refining, energy retailing. There is likewise a cost. The water needs of the development some years are significant in the Athabascan. There are consequences in terms of greenhouse gases. Yes, it's an increment more because the mining and the processing production is energy intensive. You need that natural gas to actually to mine it. Increasing carbon dioxide emissions, and because it's sulfur rich, you need to extract that sulfur and dispose of it as well. Here's the point about where they're going to get their natural gas. Some of it may come from Alaska as well. So again, we have this interdependence between the United States and Canada and the United States on where we get our energy and who benefits from it, who has jobs from it, and who's going to bear the environmental and social costs of developing it. The market potential is obviously large. There's this misconception that NAFTA mandates that Canada sell a certain proportion of its energy to the United States. It's not true. I don't know who came up with the rumor, who perpetuates it, what their rationale is behind it. But indeed, the United States is guaranteed equal access. If on the market Canada wants to sell it at $200 and we pay $200, I mean, that's the market. So where are we when we talk about partnerships that are promoting oil and gas development, oil and gas exchange, oil and gas even exploration? There has been for well over a decade a North American Energy Working Group. The Security and Prosperity Partnership was much about energy from Canada, energy from Mexico that the U.S. could assure would arrive in the United States. There are 2 bilateral clean energy and climate change agreements, U.S. and Canada, U.S. and Mexico. There is a trilateral science and technology agreement. There is a North American carbon project, very active at looking at carbon flows, sequestration, the cost benefits, even the reservoirs where this might happen. And as was mentioned, I think yesterday, there's a United States, U.S. and Mexico President's Task Force for electricity, but as you know, a lot of electricity is oil and gas driven. So, of these, which ones are active, which ones are actually promoting a partnership? And I will not sugarcoat it. I don't think any of them are active. I don't think any of them are promoting. I think they are on paper with an annual progress report, and there's probably a staffer assigned, but they are not promoting, given the size of the challenge, this partnership that the 3 nations should be involved in. A little bit of discussion about peak oil. Of course, peak oil is always going to be debated. I think we can largely conclude that friendly, cheap peak oil may be approaching very soon, and maybe the panel will have various opinions about that. But I think that we need to remember, as the ambassadors and the governor were talking about, that friendly oil brings with it a security premium. So Keystone is an impressive, I mean, truly impressive industrial project. With it is an impressive a potential risk of environmental consequences. I would personally challenge the pressures and the thickness and the inspections on the pipeline, but that can be resolved. That's something that once you get the presidential permit, you negotiate on those safeguards, not during the presidential permit itself. So it'll need a presidential permit, as the ambassador was describing. Have there been insider negotiations? I think undeniable. Have they been inappropriate or effective as to be negotiated? Is the United States outsourcing its environment, as we've been accused in outsourcing pollution to Mexico? Does it enable the United States to continue to use more and more and more because we have such friendly, right now, cheap oil available to the north? And what is the role of the states? I think it boils down to you legislators deciding if the pipeline is going to seize land through eminent domain, if you have a battle you want to take up with the federal government over this issue of national security and national priority for the pipeline itself. There are 56 landowner cases that are being contested right now. TransCan is the U.S. actor on behalf of Keystone, and they are the ones citing and being sued. But if the states don't assert, then it can't end up in the courts. And should it end up in the courts or not, I don't know. I'm just trying to outline what the issues are, I think, for you state legislators. The question of need, there are some people saying the United States doesn't need a Keystone because our vehicle miles driven every year are less and less. Well, I mean, that coincides with the recession. That has nothing to do with people's reluctance to drive. Believe me, Americans love to drive. We love to drive big cars. We probably want to do it for quite a while. There's China out there. I don't think I need to go into much more about what even the name China means for us. On the big picture of things, I could talk about renewable energy, but what I really do want to say is that renewable energy represents for us, let me just go back, renewable energy represents for us a quality of life issue, a jobs issue, a security issue, a sustainability issue in lots of ways that oil and gas can't quite. And so I really start thinking about a North American, it's pronounced NAGES because it really is an outrageous idea, but we're thinking about a North American greenhouse gas exchange strategy. California has just approved cap and trade with its own system of caps. We could model ourselves after that. And so if Americans are willing to pay Canada whatever price for the oil sands, given that we get this permit and get this pipeline, then let us pay a premium for the excess greenhouse gases that are going to be enclosed in that purchase. And let Canada buy the offsets from Mexico, because as we can all imagine, Mexico's got innumerable ways that they can become energy efficient, they can find more energy, they can develop their renewable energy, their mass transit system, efficiencies in buildings, and any number of things. So it's just a strategy to me that makes a lot of sense. And with that, I'll end. Thank you.